Planning an international trip really has a lot of moving pieces to manage. And if you ever feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information and options out there, I feel you. It's easy to get decision paralysis when you have so much to choose from. That's why in this video, I wanted to share with you my 10-step process for booking any trip. I'll share the best websites for finding great deals on flights, accommodations, and even all your activities as well. So that whether you're planning a weekend getaway or a long-term adventure, you'll be able to plan your trip like a pro. Well, hey there, world travelers. I'm Kendra Lucas of Lucas World Travel, and after 3 years of full-time travels, I've learned quite a bit about how to plan a trip quickly, efficiently, and finding loads of activities that really makes my trip so special and memorable. And I wanted to break down exactly how I do it, and it applies to any destination, no matter whether it's a beach destination, city, domestic, or foreign. So step 1 is to decide your time frame. The trip you plan is going to be very different depending on whether you only have 4 nights or if you have 14 nights. So you want to make sure you know exactly how long you have off of work, off of school in order to do your trip. And I only recommend planning 14 days or 2 weeks at a time. So if your trip is 3 months long or 1 month long, I only recommend planning the first 2 weeks. And then while you're on the road, you can plan the rest because you'll learn so much more about what you want to see while you're out on the road. Once you know your time frame, step 2 is to choose the destination. Now for me, I like to choose destinations based on what flight I can afford. So this is the thing, I might really want to go to Australia, but if the tickets are $2,000 per person, I'm probably going to skip it and find a more affordable destination. But one option for going to those more pricey destinations is to sign up for email notifications for when flight ticket prices go down. You can do this on a website like Going, which used to be Scott's Cheap Flights. You can sign up for their free newsletter and get notified when ticket prices at your hometown airport drop. So if you're interested in getting those flight drop notifications, you can use the link in the description box alone to sign up for the Going newsletter. In addition to cheap flights in your inbox, you can also use Skyscanner to search for cheap flights. It's helpful if you have flexibility. What I like to do is put my home airport in the search engine, search for everywhere, and then put a month where I have time off that I'm free to travel. It'll give me dozens of different countries I can visit, and it will show me the lowest price of that month. If I'm flexible enough, I can just choose that flight and I'll get the lowest fare possible for the month I chose. So if I choose the lowest price available for the US Virgin Islands, I can get a round-trip ticket for as low as $226. They search for budget airlines like Spirit and also full-service airlines like American and search dozens of travel websites, so you don't have to. So if I want to take advantage of this Spirit offer, I click Select to get more details about the flight. And this one involves a self-transfer, meaning that I would have to check in twice, both in my home airport and in Fort Lauderdale. So I would have to make sure I allow plenty of time in Fort Lauderdale to get any luggage and re-check in for my second flight. But that's how you get this low price. If I don't want to do the hassle of self-checking in twice, then I can get the more expensive American flight for $140 more. But the best part is, if you like the flight, Skyscanner forwards you directly to the airline's website so you can book directly with them. So you're booking directly with the airline, which is fantastic because if anything happens with your flight, there's a delay, a cancellation, it's so much easier dealing directly with the airline versus dealing with a third party like Expedia or a travel agency. Step 3 is destination research. Now, once I find a flight that I like, I open another tab and do a bit of research on the destination. I like to start with travel blogs first. So I'll look up, for example, things to do in Vienna, and I'll read the first blog or two that's related to Vienna. I like blogs because they're so quick to read, and you get to read somebody's personal experience of how it felt to be in that place. And if the travel blog mentions a place that I would like to see, I immediately get out my phone, open Google Maps, and add that destination directly to Google Maps. Once I'm in Google Maps, I read the reviews of the destination, and a lot of times from Google Maps, you get a lot of first-hand experience tips that are really helpful for you planning your trip. I read those reviews, make any notes that I want to remember. For example, sometimes people say you want to book in advance for this, and I make note of that so I know that I'm going to book this activity in advance before I go. And I save that note directly into Google Maps, and I make a named list for that destination. I find that taking action immediately like this, as I'm going through somebody's blog, really helps save me time. So I don't recommend reading a blog and then going back and putting everything into your phone. I recommend putting it directly into your apps while you're reading it, because if you don't document it, you're going to forget it and you'll just have to repeat your research all over again. I also like to watch a travel vlog or two because you just learn so much more about the destination when you can see someone experiencing the space in 3 dimensions. It kind of puts everything into a clearer perspective when you can see it through video. But just as in the vlog, I always pause the video when I see them go to a destination I want to visit as well, and I put it directly into Google Maps. And I find this saves a lot of time, I forget less, and I remember to go to all those different spots because I'm writing them down in the app as I go along. Lastly, I use Google Maps itself to find cool destinations to go to. So what I do is I open the city in Google Maps and I click the Things to Do feature. And I just click through all the little icons to see if there's anything in there that would interest me. I read the reviews, and if I like the reviews, if I like the pictures, I also add that to my saved list of places I would like to see. And this is how I find a lot of off the beaten path places that a lot of the bloggers and the vloggers miss, because I'm thoroughly going over Google Maps and seeing things that the average tourist really isn't checking out. Now, for Central and South America, I also search for travel agencies as well. I found in my journeys through Central and South America that you can find really good activities and tours booking directly through a local travel agency. Whereas that's not necessarily the truth in the US, Europe, or Asia. For Europe and Asia, I actually find that online prices are the same or lower than if you book in person at an agency. I use the website getyourguide.com in order to search for fun day trips and different activities I can do when I'm in certain cities. But once I'm done adding different activities to Google Maps, I pull up my saved list for that destination and look at all my different things on the map. For example, if I'm going to Vienna, I'm going to click on all the different things I want to see, choose the direction icon, and then navigate in between items. So this place is only 11 minutes walking, so very doable. Then I'll erase and click on another one. A 10-minute transit ride, 12-minute walk, not bad. Then I'll erase and go to the next one. This one's a 30-minute walk, probably don't want to do that, but a 14-minute bus ride, so not bad at all. And one's way out here, and it's good to know that that's a
43-minute transit ride. I have to take 2 different transit options, but still doable. So this is valuable information. So this shows me that it would be best to stay somewhere in this section so that everything can be within a 10 to 15 minute walk, and that I can take transit out to the further destinations that I want to see, and that I won't need to rent a car in this particular city.
One note though, while Google Maps is very good at providing a lot of public transport information, not all cities have their public transportation listed into Google Maps. If a city doesn't have any public transportation information listed into Google Maps, you might want to check the app Moovit to see if they have the public transportation information listed there. Because unfortunately, if there's no public transportation, you might have to rent a car. But when you're looking at this map of things you want to do, really be honest with yourself, because you can only do maybe 2 or 3 activities per day. So as you make your itinerary, you want to pick the 2 or 3 things you want to do for the day, and that's how you're going to lay out your itinerary. And remember, most day trips or activities that you're going to book through Get Your Guide are going to be full day activities. So you want to set aside a full day to do those. Now that you've researched your destination thoroughly, you want to expand your search even more. So step number 4 is to research nearby destinations as needed. Other things to research include whether or not you can extend your trip by adding a nearby destination. Now, if you only have 4 or 5 nights, you probably want to book one city and stay there for the duration of your stay. But if you have 6 or 7 nights, then it might be worth it to branch out and try to hit up multiple cities on your trip. You can do 3 nights in one city, 3 nights in the other, 4 nights in one city, 3 nights in the other. Something like that is a good mix. For example, if I zoom out from Vienna, I can see that Bratislava, Slovakia is another beautiful capital city that's not far away from Vienna. So I can research how to get there by using the website Rome to Rio. I love this website because it helps me navigate how to get in between cities in ways that I never would have thought of. For example, between Vienna and Bratislava, I'm happy to see that I can take a train for an hour, a bus for an hour and a half, or a ferry ride. I would have never thought to take a ferry between Vienna and Bratislava, but that sounds like such a fun, beautiful, wonderful way to explore 2 different cities. And it's just an hour boat ride, so I'd be able to do that in a day trip. Go to Bratislava and come back in the afternoon. Doesn't that sound divine? And I never would have found that option if I didn't put that into Rome to Rio. If I expand my search even more, I can see that Budapest is not far away either. It's just a 2.5 hour train ride or a 3-hour bus ride. So I think it would be easy to add that to my trip. Maybe I can spend 4 nights in Vienna and 3 nights in Budapest. But that would completely change my plane itinerary. So instead of doing round-trip airfare from Vienna, I might want to do one-way trips. One-way ticket to Vienna and a one-way ticket back home from Budapest. So sometimes when you expand your search, you do have to redo your airfare, but it's worth it if you can see more and experience more with the time that you have. So you just want to check to make sure those one-way flights are still affordable in your budget. Once you find affordable flights, then it's time to look up affordable accommodations. Now, my favorite site for stays over 4 days or more is Airbnb. And this is because you can find full apartments where you're able to cook your own meals, make a cup of tea, and my favorite, sit on a sofa and just relax after a long day of sightseeing. You definitely can't get all 3 in a budget hotel, but you can get all 3 in a budget Airbnb. But for stays of 1 to 3 nights, I do like hotels a bit better because I'm probably not going to be cooking for such a short stay. I'm going to be utilizing all my time out and about sightseeing. For hotels, I like using Booking.com in Europe and in Central and South America. But for the US and Asia, I do believe Expedia is a bit better. For solo travelers on a budget, you might want to try HostalWorld.com, where you can get a dormitory bed for as low as $9 a day. However, if there's 2 or more of you traveling together, it's probably better to book a private room at a hotel or Airbnb, because usually by the time you pay for 2 dormitory beds, you can definitely afford to get a private room somewhere. Whether your preference though is Airbnb, hotel, or hostel, you should try to book your stay as close to your attractions as possible. So once you find a front runner for hotel you want to stay in, you want to plot that on your Google Maps to see if it's nearby any of the attractions you want to see. If it's not, I have crossed off my list plenty of beautiful hotels that are just too far away to be practical. Once you find your accommodation that's within your budget, the next thing you want to do is to verify your passport and visa documents. Now, most countries require that from your departure date that you have at least 6 months of passport validity until it expires. So you want to double check your date. If your passport's about to expire within the next 6 months, you definitely want to send it away to get renewed before you book your trip. Another thing you want to check as well is whether you need to get a visa or not. Now, as a US citizen, I do get visa-free access to 144 countries, but there's several very interesting, very cool countries that do require Americans, Canadians, British citizens to get visas. Countries like Australia, Vietnam, India, Laos, all require you to apply for a visa a few days before you arrive. So it's worth it to do a quick Google search before you book. Do I need a visa to go to India? And if your destination does require a visa, it's good to look up that paperwork and see if that's something that you're able and willing to do. Once you make sure your passports and visas are in order though, it's time for step number 7. Booking those flights. Now this is when it starts to get real. This is when it starts to get fun. This is where you start to put your money where your mouth is. You always want to make sure you book your flights first, because it's impossible to know when you should book your accommodations until you know what time you're going to land. Because sometimes you might leave the first of the month, but the plane will not arrive in your destination till the second of the month. You'd be wrong to book your accommodations on the first. You would have to book them on the second. And this is why you want to make sure you have your flights locked in before you book your accommodation. Once you have your flights locked in though, step number 8 is to book those accommodations. And it should be easy. We already did our research. We know the prices and about the place where we want to stay. We just want to pick it out and solidify it. And once the accommodation's booked, then you can feel confident to book your activities. Now, step number 9 is just to book the activities that are likely to fill up. I remembered that when we were in places like Barcelona, for example, La Sagrada Familia, you need reservations to go into timed entry. So you want to check, make sure that none of the things you want to see, any museum exhibits, anything special, or whether or not you need to book it in advance before you go. And the last final step is step number 10 is to organize all your documents, maps, and your itinerary. Once you book everything, you're going to get dozens of emails giving you confirmation details. I recommend that you just save it all in a folder named after your destination, and that should be sufficient. However, if you know for a fact you're not going to have internet while you're traveling, you can also take screenshots of your confirmations and save those to an album so you'll have them on your phone. I personally always like to make sure I have internet while I travel, so I have access to all the features in Google Maps, including the public transportation navigation and the walking navigation, which I found so useful. So if you're interested in having data, you can either get a local SIM card when you arrive, or you can get an eSIM, which are nice as well. We've used Olafly before, and they have great Europe plans where you get data in over 32 countries while you travel. And it's just nice that you can activate the data all by yourself without going to a store, and you don't have to remove your primary SIM card. So it's very convenient, and it's good because it prevents you from having any overages from your primary mobile provider. But this is my 10-step process for planning all of my trips. And what I love most about it is that it's all paperless and all pretty much in one app. All my notes, destinations, all in Google Maps, and all my confirmations are in my email. So it's easy to go out and see the world without being weighed down by loads of paper itineraries. But please be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for even more travel tips. Until next time, you can check out our favorite travel gear for easy packing and unpacking in multiple cities right over here. As always, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for sharing with all your travel buddies, and happy travel planning. Until next time. Bye guys.